That video again without lights, out of respect for the film makers. Come on for cause she's looking at me. Oh, she got that look in her eye.
There we go.
Here we go.
People were lynched. See, that's why we need Brother Jim here. Where's my attitude? Intelligence rules the world.
All right, let's give him a round of applause. All right, so I'll start and I'm going to throw out a couple of specific questions, but right now I'll start with a very general question. How important to each one of you is representation? Because we have a very diverse group of filmmakers here. So I'll take it from you, Alum. How important is diversity to you?
Um, I think it's very important. If I understand right your questions, for me it was very important to see in the screen myself in a way, stories that I born in Ethiopia and I live in Israel, and I know that there is the way I think, the way my history told, there is something different from what I saw usually in TV or in movies. So it was very important to me to bring my story, and also there is, I didn't find it yet, how to really to bring my culture in this form of cinema. But I think it's very important, and it could be interesting if I really, if I succeed, if I will do that. You understand me? I hope
Absolutely.
so. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean, we're depicting the human experience. So if we're on screen seeing ourselves, we're more likely to be able to relate to that. And I feel as if I am creating films, I need to be able to create something from my natural, real, raw experience, something that I could bring exactly what's going on in real time to the screen, because other than that, then I'm just using my imagination, you know. And I feel sometimes when I'm watching TV or the screen, I'm using my imagination because I don't see myself up there. And I think it is very important. Obviously, it's important, but I think it is imperative that we have representation on screen, because something that just came out last thing, because I told you I talk a lot. The Woman King, you know, I just seen a auxiliary group from back at home in Miami. I'm from Miami, and they decided to put on a theme like that for their football game, and you know, and use that narrative to their game. And I think they wouldn't have done that unless they saw themselves on a screen. So it's obviously important, but it is imperative.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm just going to piggyback everything that you said. I think all of us just want to be seen, like you said, in life. And media and entertainment, it reflects society. And so my agenda as a filmmaker is to tell authentic stories. And I get those authentic stories from my own experience. And I think it's very important as a writer, as a director, as a filmmaker, to and as an actor, to put yourself in your stories. And that creates diversity. I think it's also important to hire different types of people and I'm putting my producer hat on now. I know this is a director's panel, but hiring different types of people behind the scenes. I know we talk about it a lot in front of the camera, but it is imperative to make sure that we're accurately represented behind the camera as well. And that's above the line and below the line, like across the board in every position. So it's extremely important, diversity in all of my projects.
To go off of what y'all said about seeing yourself on screen and representation, I for so long it's been so difficult for people of color to get their movies on the silver screen. And although, yes, over the past 10-ish years it has gotten better, and we're still working at it, we want to make sure that the representation is accurate as well. And so, like, y'all saw the clips from my upcoming movie, Walkman. I've been saying as I promote the movie, a lot of Asian representation on cinema is you got to be crazy rich or kung fu, right? And so a little secret, the code name for my movie, which is called Walkman, it's called Poor Immigrant Asians, and it's a lot more accurate to the average Asian you may run across in America, right? And so for the longest time, yeah, I say it as a joke, but you got to be crazy rich or kung fu to be able to claim your space on the screen. And so I am trying to make a movie that shoves the working class, shoves poor people of color down the viewer's throat, and just kind of trying to share some perspective, hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, we did talk about your movie, Walkman. Can you tell me, from the moment that you got the idea, how long did it take from that moment to where you got into production?
Well, it's been a long time coming. I came up with Walkman originally for my senior film back in the summer of 2017. It was supposed to be a documentary on latchkey kids. I was a latchkey kid. I walked home my whole childhood, and I was the oldest of three, and I had, all of that stuff. And then it kind of grew and grew and grew until essentially, okay, race and racism is difficult to talk about in general, right? And when it is talked about, most of the time, something bad has just happened. It's reactionary, tempers are already flaring, and it's always a tough conversation. I am trying to create an opportunity to where I can disguise a conversation about race in a little short film. No matter skin color, no matter income, no matter where you are, sesame chicken and crab rangoons are awesome, right? And so I wanted to create a world, an environment where everyone was welcome, a Chinese restaurant. And by inviting you into my world, you don't even know that we're already talking about race. And I'm trying to share a little bit of perspective from these poor people with bad accents who, let's get real. For years, they're just the kind of people who fried your chicken. But now with Walkman, I hope that restaurant workers and poor people of color can hopefully be seen with a little bit more light on them.
I love that. And one thing that I do love about all of y'all's films is that it's very specific in showing a different perspective and inviting people in, and it allows people to watch your films and lets the audience pick each one of your characters and treat them as an avatar because they see themselves. You know, they may not be Asian, but they may be black, and they may have been a latchkey kid. You know, I think that is a very interesting way to continue to tell stories, especially when you're very intentional. Because a lot of stories now, like we're big on streaming, we're big on going to the movies and things of that nature. But what are we supposed to get from the films? And I think that each one of you have been very intentional. I know that we were talking about in the back some of your inspirations for some of your films. So can you please share, you know, the biggest inspiration and how you kind of let that weave through and getting that work done? Because making a film is not easy.
No, it is not easy at all, and all my independent filmmakers know this. When it comes to getting a budget, finding those funds, it can feel like your whole body is against the wall. But yeah, I know we were talking about my film that won Best Short Film at Morehouse Film Festival last year, Eavesdropping on the Elders. Thank you.
Hold on, pause for that. She said, say it again so we can get the proper reaction.
It won Best Short Film.
Yeah.
Feature. Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you. And I have to shout out my co-writer, and he also not started, but had played a huge role in it. CJ Sykes, he's sitting right there. Wave your hand. Incredible writer. He was on the writers panel. But Eavesdropping on the Elders is a special, special project for me, and I try not to get emotional every time I talk about it, but it started out as just being a birthday gift for my dad. He was turning 75, and my dad has struggled with ALS for the last 9 years, and it's been an incredible battle for my family. I'm an only child, so it's just my mom, my dad, and I. And I was trying to figure out what type of birthday gift I could get him. He can't move his hands, his legs. He can hardly move any part of his body. And there was nothing tangible or materialistic that I could give him that would be worthy. And my dad is an incredible author, professor, advocate, civil activist, civil rights activist, and he is the definition of just amazing, being an amazing man. And I'm a daddy's girl, if you can't tell. And he actually reached out to CJ and I 2 years prior, asking us to adapt one of his pieces into anything. He was like, you guys can just record yourself on your phone reading it, or you can do a play. And I was like, okay, Dad, maybe one day. And it wasn't until January, before his 75th birthday in August, I was like, this is what I want to do. And I don't want to just record myself saying it. I want to create a film. And I don't do anything small, so I was like, I want it to be a union film. And I love producing. Producing is like my first love. And so I reached out to all my dad's old friends, wrote this letter saying I was going to surprise him, recorded myself, and raised $10,000 to create this film. Got some of my closest friends and family together, and we made it happen in like 3 months. And that's the clip that you saw there. I got 12 of some of the best actors in Atlanta. I mean, we're talking, I don't even want to name all of them, but Brittany Inge, Terrell Hill, Todd Anthony, just some incredible actors and some incredible people behind the scenes. And everyone came in, and of course I did pay everyone. I'm big on paying people their worth. Yes, pay your crew and your cast. Don't have actors work for free, please. Paid all of them, but everyone did it out of the kindness of their heart and in respect and honor of my dad's work and his legacy. And I'm just incredibly thankful that God worked it all out so everyone could be there on every shoot day. My DP and my co-director actually drove up to South Carolina to put my dad in the film, and he had no idea he was in it. I lied to him and told him I was doing a documentary. And yeah, it was just an amazing, amazing experience. And so that goes back to what we were talking about before, your biggest inspirations and just leaning on your own stories. Those really make the best stories. My next film that I'm going to be directing, I'm doing that as well. I'm being very vulnerable about something that I've been struggling with for about 6 years now and putting that into a film. And I think it's really going to shed light on something we don't ever talk about. And it's my experience, and it's going to be the most authentic because it is my story.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, clap it up for that. With your film, with No Land, what was the biggest inspiration on why you chose to tell that story?
First of all, with No Land is a story about the Ethiopian Jewish that they emigrated to Israel in 1991. The storytelling is about the Ethiopian activist made all offers to made this immigrant to Israel possible. This is the story. What was the inspiration to make this movie is, as I told, there was a big operation aimed to bring to Israel 50,000 Ethiopian Jewish. During the all years told the story only about the operation, how the Israel make the big operation to bring the Ethiopian Jewish, and there was the miss point of view of the Ethiopian activist. And when I understand that it was last year, it will be 30 years for the operation, and it will be a big festival about the operation and everything. And me and my partner thought it will be great to bring our perspective on this a big operation. So this was. It was like, of course, we need to tell this story. It will be a good moment to capture and to tell the story.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, clap it up for that. Lisa, we talked about the importance of mental health, right? You know, being in this industry, especially if you're an actor, director, anything like that. I believe any profession, mental health is a huge component. A lot of the time, as an actor, we'll just do auditions and never hear anything back, and then your family's just thinking, oh, why don't you go get a real job? I'm like, this is a real job, you know? But just talk about the balance that you kind of have to have, not only just being an actor, but also being a filmmaker and being a director, and the importance of mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the balance is, and like we said in the back, finding out yourself first before going to create something that you feel is coming from you. Because as you said, you're going to create a really personal story. I think all of our stories are personal, you know, and if within yourself, if you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know what kind of person you are, I think that's something that's extremely important for balance. As a writer, director, actor, and those things tell stories in 3 different ways. And mental health is something all creators deal with, whether they're just so happy or just so, you know, confused or just waiting by the phone to get a phone call for your next gig or your next job. I think it's something that is unspoken about, but is very obvious. And when it comes down to you know what? When it comes down to, so you guys could understand this, mental health is something I dealt with for a very long time as a creative, extremely long time. I deal with anxiety, and for about 5 years, recently, I dealt with depression. Now, during those times is when I felt like I made the most riveting stories in the oddest way. Why? I don't know. But I do know during that time, I was creating stories that was happening in the moment right now. After that, I became someone who could look back at those stories and instantly relate to it, but try to take myself away from it. And I think the difference between doing something like that and just creating and saying, yeah, there's nothing wrong with me, is that you're not being real with yourself and you're not exactly sure who you are. And if you're not exactly sure who you are, you won't be exactly sure who you are as a creative. And because of that, your stories will suffer. And I think because of that, we have this unspoken truth about mental health in the creative space. We just don't talk about it because we think everybody's okay. Everybody wants to be a star. Everybody wants to be in the lights. Everybody wants to smile for the camera. But we create very dark things. And we don't get to go into the office and day job, yes. But when we do our real job, we're not in the office for 9 to 5, putting on our best fit. We are in a very raw space, a very raw environment. And I created a poetry film last September about mental health where I got 4 people to just talk about how they went from here to here. And that's how they went from their darkest place to now in the light. And it was very interesting hearing them speak because a lot of people was dealing with the same things. And I think because a lot of us are dealing with the same things and we don't talk about it, it's like, how are we supposed to heal? How are we supposed to help each other? So there's, yeah.
Yeah, clap it up. That's vulnerability, and that's real. I know with mental health and things like that, it's very important to have a community when you're in this industry, right? And I know that we were kind of talking backstage too about having a community, and you and Alicia actually work together and know each other and things of that nature. But how important, Jeremy, is community and kind of working and learning how to build off and barter?
So, to be an indie filmmaker, a lot of it is really like surviving to be able to film tomorrow. Like that's a big thing. Like you got to get there, right? And so, paying your crew and paying your cast, that I believe in that wholeheartedly. Obviously, I do. But then realistically too, on the indie side, sometimes that has to be scaled down. And then you're also looking for the folks who desire to be there, either for the story or for you, right? And so pre-pandemic, Elise shot a series of 5 short films, and I was the first assistant director on 3 of them. And so when we walked into the room today, we're like, yo, dude, look, we haven't seen each other since pre-plague. And so it was just, with Walkman, production is next week, okay? My editor, I am gonna co-produce and first AD his next movie. No cash is being exchanged. My production designer, I produced and first AD'd her grad school application short film for AFI. She's production designing my movie for free. My sound designer, I first AD'd his short film. I'm getting all sound for free. And these are quality folks who are like in the union with great gear and all these things. It's really awesome it can be difficult, but when you can find filmmakers who are similarly positioned to yourself and to grow alongside them, it can be a really beautiful thing. You can really build a network like that, and really quickly as well, while we're talking about community, we just had a successful Seed and Spark campaign for Walkman. We hit 107% of our goal and raised $22,000.
Wow.
And so, thank you. And so, I try to eliminate opportunities where I can feel failure, okay? And it's just like a personal thing for me. While preparing for this movie, I never wanted to feel like I failed at anything. And so I'm not really making a movie. I'm building a community. I'm building a community that supports Asian filmmaking. I'm building a community that wants to invest with financially or by shouting us out on social media. The money and the movie will come from that. And it's really important, too, to also play your role when it's not your movie being made. You can't forget about that, right? And so community, finding your people, finding the people who believe in you and your story is incredibly important, but we understand that it's not the easiest thing to do. It takes time to find your folks. It can take years. And so it's a marathon.
Yeah. Speaking of playing roles, have any of you ever acted?
Yeah.
Okay. So not the bookends. Okay, so who wants to go first? Tell me about that experience of being an actor and
Ladies
now being a
first.
director.
Please.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Actor turned director.
got into this business with acting. And I know there's a lot of actors who we get to a place where we're like, okay, I'm not booking, right? Not getting a lot of auditions, so let me go out and create something. For me, it wasn't like that. I was acting on an indie series called Outlandish back in 2017. I just moved down here to Atlanta, and we lost our lead cast member at 11:30 p.m. We're supposed to shoot the next day at 8 a.m. And the director of the project called me freaking out and saying she was going to cancel the whole shoot, and we had become friends by that point. And I said, no, don't freak out. I was actually on another set for another series, and I ended up replacing the cast member that night. And that was the little like bug that I got. I was like, oh, I can do more than just act. Like I can, and it was just using a resource, right? And that's really what producing is. That's actually where I found my love for producing, and I ended up producing the next 7 episodes of that show. And producing's a whole other thing: locations, casting, everything. And being an actor, you get to learn a lot about directing and about good directing and bad directing. And I'm an actor who loves to be directed. So I've been on some sets where like I'm not getting anything, and that insecure side of me is like, am I doing okay? Because you're not saying anything. But I love directors who will want to direct. Like, let me know what you want. Even when I'm like coaching or doing, self-tapes, I love when my reader offers suggestions. Please do. And so I think as an actor, although we're the last to get hired, unless you're a name, which, I think we are in a unique position where we can learn so much from everyone around us, especially the director. So that's been my experience. What about you?
Yeah, I love acting.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm acting, I'm loyal to the production. I'm loyal to the director. When I'm a director, I'm loyal to the team and the actors. So it's a complete switch. It's a whole different feeling. It's a whole different mindset. I started on the stage in theater. In college, I did a minor in theater. Then I went from theater to like indie student films, short films back in Florida. But I don't know. I honestly do not fully remember what was exactly like, I'm just gonna start directing. I literally was doing local theater, auditioning, and then I was like, okay, in between this, I might as well pick up a camera, and started just creating my own content. And then I noticed, oh, okay, this is like the full thing. You are literally putting this together. You could do that as well. I found that very intriguing. I thought that was very interesting. And from that point on, it was like, okay, I'm gonna direct too. And then writing came about because I was like, I can't find material to start, to direct and not have material. So I started learning how to write. But then I never stopped acting. I still acted till this day. Josh was just talking to us. We were in a virtual class like last year over the pandemic. We didn't even know for acting. And it's just this, I encourage every director to get in an acting class. It is so important because a lot of directors get on set for their projects and disregard the actor, as she was saying. Like, literally, they don't talk to them much at all. And then you go back to the editing room and you're like, what is she doing? You're like, what are they doing? You know, like, why are they moving like that? And it's not what I wanted. And you have to be able to talk to them. But in order to talk to them correctly and communicate, you need to know a lot about acting. It's the only way. And it's this unsaid thing when you're a director, actor too, that you have with actors that's very interesting. And actors love that. It makes their performance better because unfortunately they do get the shorter end of the stick on set. You know, they get a very, very emotionally, physically inducing job that, I mean, by the end of the day, they are like laid out and they don't know what to do with their lives. And then they gotta do it again many days. I mean, it's something that I think a lot of directors disregard, that I'll say. I think it's very important to get into acting class and just try it out. You don't have to be good, you just need to understand what they're going through.
Yeah, I can appreciate that as an actor. Yeah, please understand what it. Now, I do have a question to toss to alum. Now, what would you like to see more of in the film industry or in films?
It was the first question, no?
No.
It's
That
different
was
question?
Yeah, because that was inspiration. Now I want to see what you want to see.
Inspiration.
Now I'm getting your business.
Again.
So
Try.
what would you like to see, or let me switch the question to this. What stories are you looking forward to either tell or to be told?
I don't know. I think like art. In every art, I need to feel there is truth of something about the story, about the film. I think it's. I want to לחוות, experience a good story, a good, that I feel in my body, in my heart, in everything. This is something I want to see.
Okay,
Answer for your question?
Absolutely, and we can
Okay.
take that all the way around. What stories would y'all like to see, or are looking forward to tell? Because Alicia, I know that you like throwback, like you kind of
Yeah,
have
I
an
love
influence.
everything vintage.
Yeah.
Everything vintage. My thing is because I feel like vintage, it's like everything from the past. Yeah. And it's because I feel like everything from the past affects the now and everything that now affects the future. So if we touch on this, touch on their imagination of the future and sit in the now, then we kind of have this stimulating thing going on that could be extremely emotionally enticing. But yeah, I love everything vintage. That's why pretty much my top genre is coming of age because I'm like stuck in nostalgia and I don't know when that's gonna stop. And I
Trying to wake us up? Who was that?
Almighty, I don't know what that was. But man, I really want to see I just want to see what I see in real life on screen. That's my biggest thing. I want this to be reflected. Like Tori Morrison says that her job is to reflect the now. She needs to be an observer. And I so believe that's me. I feel like I need to be able to reflect what I see right now. So when I don't see young boys on screen doing some things that I did or I saw my friends did, or you travel and you see other young boys do the same things and you're like, but you go on screen and you don't see that, it's kind of confusing because we go to the movies to escape, right? I think I do. We go there to try to.
And you want to see the reality of the screen?
Yeah, I do.
How you will escape from that if you see the
Great question. Great question. Very great question, because I think the escape is, I feel like we're escaping right now. Let me explain that. We are literally, like, here in reality, as raw as it is, we have this wall, goes back into mental health. We have this wall where we're not really all the time taking in everything that's going on. When people scream, be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment, they're saying that because you're not necessarily actually here. You're in here. And when I go to the theater, but I see reality and it's raw, but it's kind of jacked up for entertainment, you know, it's exaggerated just a little bit, I'm still escaping. Because now I'm in this emotional space, I'm in this raw space where all the secrets, all those things I don't want to talk about, all the things I don't really want to see, somebody else is doing that for me. Somebody else is on that screen doing that, you know, and that's what I feel like I really want to see on screen. I want more of that rawness. I want more reality, but I don't want more reality TV. So don't get that mixed up. Reality TV. But talk to us about that.
No, you said like to broke the walls. Yeah?
Yeah.
If I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think similar to you, I want to create and see more stories that I can relate to, that affect me. I'm stuck on the show The Bear right now. I'm sure some of you or all of you have seen that show, and if you haven't, you have to see it.
Is it on?
FX.
Okay.
But you can watch it on Hulu. Yeah, on Hulu.
Come on, choir.
Christopher Storer, phenomenally written, directed, acting exceptional, shot beautifully. It's a must-see. But when you're talking about raw reality, there's this like 7-minute monologue on one of the last few episodes, and you forget that you're even like watching the show. It's almost like I'm having a conversation with the actor. And I'm truly there listening, and they don't ever move the camera. Like it's on him the whole entire time, a slow push in, beautiful, 7-minute monologue. And then when someone wrote it out, I think the writer from the panel the other day wrote it out, and it was 2.5 pages. So talking about as an actor, like what do you say when you get that? No. Yeah, I can imagine, but that show was so visceral, so raw, and it took something that we see every day, going to a restaurant, and we never get to see, we get the plate, right? But we don't ever get to see what happens like with the chefs and all the work that they put in. So it made me question, like when I say, oh, this doesn't taste good, or like complain about my meal. Think about how much time like this chef put into plating it and to thinking of this meal. Or I'm big on saying, okay, I want this, but can I switch that and then get that on top of it and then move that? And it's like, no, this person came up with this, and that it just changes your mind on the restaurant industry and just the work that goes into it. So I want more stories that are real and that can change my perspective on something that I experience every day.
Awesome. All right, Jeremy.
So Hollywood status quo over the past 100-ish years does not favor folks who like look like us, right? And so like, in my opinion, the status quo is bullshit, and I think it should be challenged at all time, if not attempted to be broken. And so I want to see more stories that challenge what Hollywood accepts. I want to see stories that may have been considered boring or not worthy or just not sexy enough for Hollywood. You've heard that everyone has a story inside of them they'll make you cry, right? That can win an Oscar. I think it's really important that creatives of color, filmmakers of color, we grow and we get really, really damn good at what we do, and then we help the next generation come up. And we start reshaping the status quo. And we start making standards that benefit us as well. And so whatever challenges what is normal, I want to see more of.
Okay, I like that. Okay. Now, we do have, obviously, other creatives in the room, and do we have time for some questions from the audience? I don't see anybody telling me no, so I'm going to say yeah. All right, so if anybody has any questions, we can come to this nice microphone here. But I don't see nobody. So nobody has a question. Okay, come on. Because I was about to say. Is this working? Is this thing on?
my name is David Fortune. I'm a filmmaker from Atlanta, Georgia, and Los Angeles, bi-coastal. As creatives, I just want to get your brains about what was the particular film that kind of inspired you to continue to create, and that is a source of material that you go back to whenever you're developing your new project.
The 400 Blows by Francis. Yeah.
About 400 blows.
Yeah. It's vintage, and it's old, and it's French, and it's a coming-of-age film. And what the little boys do is he continuously skips schools with his friends to go on adventures and do whatever, everything, because at home it's trash. They could care less about him. His family's just not supportive of just him. They don't like him. It's very weird, but it's this real like escapism by young boys. And I go back to that as a coming-of-age director because I'm always trying to find a reason to understand my younger self more. I feel like we let that happen, and then we kind of just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. But there's a lot of things we did at a younger age that, if we think about, ties into who we are today. And I really want to be able to understand that, so when young boys see my films as well, they could understand themselves more of who they are and what they do. And plus, that director is sick. Like, his films are really good. I really suggest you guys check out The 400 Blows or anything by Francis, if you could take subtitles.
For me personally, I think my best answer for you right now would be the movie Hook. It's my favorite Spielberg movie. To be a young boy, I'm the eldest born of war refugees, and so I was very sheltered and very much not allowed to experience a lot of things growing up, and so film and TV were my windows into fantasy, and Hook was one of the first times as a kid that I saw that everyone else fantasizes too, about these big, grand adventures and big, grand, fantastical places. And so Hook, over all of these years, just continues to scream fantasy and love and acceptance.
Okay, ladies.
I know, I'm trying to think of one. You want to go first, Salam?
There is two directors, one Ethiopian, one Greece. Haile Germa, there is a movie called Steza. I don't know how it's in English, but it's the story is the two directors. The two films that are really inspired, and every time I watch when I need something to le'achez. Yes, the Ethiopian director tell about immigration to Germany, and this guy go back to Ethiopia, and there is amazing journey about his go back to home and everything. And also the Theo Angelopoulos, also Hashiva. Yeah, it's the same, someone exiles and he go back to his home. And the cinema and the language about immigration, the people are trying to find themselves houses. This is my main line that I'm trying to tell about in my stories, my feelings. So I go back, I watch those movies like, million times to remember what is the cinema, which kind of story I would like to tell. Million times, I put this with my children also when I do some things. It can be over there, so it's something like this.
A TV show actually that I'm currently revisiting as I develop and get ready to direct my next film is I May Destroy You by Michaela Coel. It took me so long to even get through the show because of how vulnerable and incredibly courageous I think she was to tell that story. But what I also love about it, and I think that's kind of the pattern with the stories that I tell, like it's just something that may be difficult to talk about, but I like to do it in a different way or use a different element, like for eavesdropping, using history and a sci-fi to talk about ALS, to talk about something important to me. And I'm going to do the same thing with my next film, and it's a dark comedy, so using comedy, and I love the way that Michaela does that. She did that with chewing gum, and then she did that beautifully, switched it, and used that with I May Destroy You. And I love how it was told, and that's how I want to tell my stories.
All right, well, thank you.
Hi, my name is Brittany Staten. I'm an actor here in Atlanta, and I always love talking about community and the community aspect, but in this creative field, we kind of create like a microcosm of just people in the creative space, filmmakers and directors and actors. So outside of just going to see your film or giving you money, how are ways that we can build community with those outside of the creative space?
Brittany.
That's a good question. It's a tough question because I feel like when I became a filmmaker, it feels like I completely left the world without filmmaking, you know? And it's like when you think about the 9-to-5 world, like to me, and I'm just being for real, as an indie filmmaker, I look to that world for money, like to live and to make movies. And so we have to, let's get real, we have to build relationships with non-filmmaking people. And it's always a game of education. You have to explain to them why it might be a good idea to give us some money, you know? But then you have to also do the relationship building when finances are not currently in the conversation as well. And so I don't have the answer to that, but it's a great question. But I do know that there are some organizations in town. I do want to promote Film Impact Georgia. A lot of non-film people do support filmmaking organizations, and so I think that could be your most maybe direct kind of thing right now. Film Impact Georgia twice a year has a filmmaking grant competition where they promote Georgia filmmakers, Georgia directors and writers and producers, and the winner of each grant cycle gets $5,000 cash and the mentorship of an industry professional throughout the timeline of your production. Film Impact Georgia, and Walkman won last year, and to be honest, thank you. And without winning the grant, I highly doubt I'd be sitting here. And so I implore y'all to check Film Impact Georgia out, and there are other organizations in town who I think could help you get closer to finding the answers to that great question.
Go ahead,
Such a
Brittany. You
great
stumped
question.
the whole panel. Go.
Actually, I live in Israel. I want to be sure that I understand your question, okay? את יכולה לתרגם לי? באיזה מובן השפעה?
השפעה, קהילתיות, בניית קהילה בקרב עבודות שלנו, ולא רק שאנחנו עשייה ויצירה, אנחנו דואגים גם להשפעה.
Oh, it's a difficult question. I understand you. Really, really difficult question. Because I think most of time I'm like focused on create the movie and survive with that. Although in Israel we have different system from here. When I hear you speaking about how you raise the money, and like, I don't know if I was managed to make movie if I was live here. I'm not sure It sounds very hard work. Also in Israel, it's very hard. But we have government found for me films on and television where we go. And the government don't tell us what to do with our film, but there is a foundation. It's more easier. Of course, there is a lot of יוצרים, creators that need the money, and we fight on this budget, but we have this fund, and I don't know really how to create the community around. I think in these 2 years there is new fashion, good fashion. We talk about the impact. I don't know, I don't remember the term in English. לעשות מהלכים של אימפקט במהלך העשייה של הסרט. אתה, during the creative process, you also need to understand to whom you want to show the film, and to put budget to work building this community around the subject. Yes, but it's not marketing. It's something impact. It's a good term. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's beautiful because in my last time with No Land, we didn't think about it, and it's. But I finished a new movie called Honey Trap, and we start to think about who we want to show this film and put some budget for building this community. I don't know if I answer for this. I answer for their question. So you need to work. You need to think about it. It's as you said. Most of the time we think we fight only to create the movie because this is a long process to work in other peoples, to raise the money and everything, and you don't really think. Yes.
For me, it's been finding connection. So finding a common thread between people and realizing that people in corporate and people who are creatives, we're all still people and we all still relate to something. And I worked in corporate for 5 years at Deloitte doing consulting and balancing that, and then coming home working a 5 to 9 and on weekends to do what I love to do. And it was very difficult there because people didn't support me being an actor or producer or director. But just having a conversation with someone and getting to know them, and then finding out that, oh, we have this in common, and this happens to be what I'm doing my next film about. Like, would you like to support me? And I think just having those conversations first, you can make a genuine connection with someone, and then you can, figure out the ways that would best support them and their future projects.
Yeah. I think it's, for me, I'm more so about the parts of me that's not about creative at all, that I enjoy or that I take very seriously or that I'm an advocate for, and then do that as well in the real space on the ground floor, and then also talk about how I connect that to my creative space as a filmmaker. And you'll be pretty surprised that a lot of organizations, especially nonprofits, want to invest in filmmakers. They want to work with filmmakers. Do they really come find us as much? Not really, but we also don't reach out. And for me, it's music. I work with the gift of music as well, or mental health, as we spoke earlier with NAMI and everything of that sort. Speaking to them, all of these nonprofits, things that you believe in, you really want to push out more. Go talk to those people, go get involved, go see if you could just set up a meeting and chat. And then next thing you know, you might have a relationship there where they are surrounding you as a creative. They're investing in you. They want to get more involved in the filmmaking community because a lot of these films are on mental health. It's just not in the forefront. Joker, that's a mental health film, strictly, like literally, you know? And it's crazy because it's very hard to get people invested in the film space. It's very expensive, and you know, so I think it's just reaching out, trying things out, saying hello, you know, and yeah, and see what that does, honestly.
So, well, thank you, Brittany. All right, we have our last question.
Hello, everyone. Actually, it's not really a question. I'm not an actor. I'm not in the industry at all. I'm just a mom supporting my daughter, Kayla Nichols,
Okay,
who is an up-and-coming, screenwriter and filmmaker herself. But I am also a licensed psychologist. And so when you talk to Lisa about mental health, it just really kind of, it was really refreshing to see that there's emphasis on that and speaking your truth and being transparent in the work that you do. You all are incredibly impressive. And I just think that it's really wonderful that, that you kind of dig deep inside of yourself, right? And talk about your experiences and maybe some of your fears and some of the things that you're kind of going through or been through and putting that on film. And at least earlier you had said that, well, I've done some of my best work when I was kind of going through some stuff. And that's probably because it's a therapeutic process in order to do that. Like you learn about yourself, and in and of itself, it's healing to kind of explore that and then put that in film. So I just want to just say I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I just want to encourage you all. What you did for your dad was amazing. Like you just brought tears to my eyes. And so I just want to encourage you all to continue to do that and continue to keep mental health as a focus, because even though, through the pandemic, certainly mental health in general, there's been a lot more emphasis placed on it, right? And people are more comfortable having that conversation now, but it's still stigmatized, especially in our community. So I just want to encourage you all to do that, because I think that's when your best work comes out. So.
thank you.
Thank you.
And
I'm gonna borrow your mama.
Your daughter is a director, screenwriter. She's trying to get on set, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
My eldest daughter went to school with you.
Oh, we know. Shout out to the Nichols family. Yeah. We gotta get them a job. Okay.
All right, well, thank y'all so much. Thank you to our panelists. Let's give them another final round of applause. All right, we will be out here mingling, so please pass your business cards, talk, have some conversations.
Everybody, we will have a screen of You Resemble Me starting here in about 3 minutes.
Thank you.